favor. Buenos dias, bon dia, good morning. I'm Brian Winter. It's a pleasure to be with you here this morning with Francisco Gomes Neto, CEO of Embraer. In my previous life, I was a reporter for 5 years based in Sao Paulo, Brazil. And during those years, one of the best assignments that you could get was to go do coverage of Embraer. And, you know, journalists were supposed to be cynical, and visiting the campus in San Jose dos Campos turned us all into children the moment we got there. With the little model airplanes that they'd send you home with. It was always a real thrill. But there was also an intellectual side to visiting, because you'd always ask yourself, especially as a foreigner, what is one of the world's biggest aviation companies doing here in a medium-sized city some 60 miles to the east of Sao Paulo? And this was a subject that fascinated me over the years, and it will be one of the subjects that we'll talk about in our conversation today. We'll also talk about some of the present-day challenges that Francisco and his team have been able to overcome in the last several years. And we'll talk about the future of aviation, too, which is a subject that I'm very curious about, with electric planes and so on. So Francisco, welcome. Congratulations on your award as Bravo's Transformational CEO of the Year. And my first question for you is, if you could just tell us, a short version of this story, how did one of the world's great aviation companies end up in a medium-sized city just outside Sao Paulo?
Sure. Okay. Good morning, bon dia, buenos dias. Thanks for the kind introduction. Well, Embraer was born from an education project. One brigadier from the Brazilian Air Force, Casimiro Montenegro, in the 1940s, he had a vision to build aircraft in Brazil. But he said at the time that before building aircraft, Brazil needed to build aeronautical engineers. So in 1944, Casimiro Montenegro presented a project to Richard Smith. That time he was head of the aeronautical department at MIT, to create ITA. So then they transferred 20 professors, and in 1950, ITA started its activities in Brazil. And, and the company values a lot education and innovation. And its success is due to the talent people we have in our continued investments in education and people development.
Francisco, let's talk a little bit.
By the way, very important. In 1965, a group of former students of ITA, they designed what they called at the time the project IPD 6054, afterwards called the Bandeirante, and Bandeirante was the first product of Embraer.
That's an amazing story. How did the company scale up from there, though? One thing is to have that start, and another thing is to have become this global company that Embraer soon became.
Well, since then, Embraer was founded in 1969, and since then we delivered more than 9,000 aircraft. Just in the past 30 years, the company developed and certified almost 30 different models. I think no other companies in the aviation had, developed so many products in this period of time.
Well, maybe you can tell us a little bit more about that variety of products, because I think all of us who know a little bit about aviation, the first thing we think of when we think of Embraer is a commuter jet on a flight between, say, New York and Washington. But really, and as I learned during my years living in Brazil and visiting your headquarters, the company is so much more than that. Can you talk about some of your other segments?
No, absolutely. Well, you're right. We are very strong in the regional aviation. By the way, in the US, we have, in the regional aviation, aircraft up to 100 seats, we have a market share close to 90%. So we transport our regional jets. We have almost 1,000 operating in this country, and we transport about 5 million passengers every month. And in airports like LaGuardia or Ronald Reagan, 1/3 of the flights is performed with Embraer aircraft. But our newest family of jets, we call E2, is a small narrow body with up to 146 seats. So it's not a regional jet anymore. And we have recently announced very important deals of this family with, for example, ANA in Japan this year, SAS in Europe, LATAM in Chile, and Avelo in the US. In executive aviation, our Phenom 300 is the best-selling, the most sold, and most desired light business jet in the world for 13 years in a row. In the Praetor, the mid and super mid-size jets are getting more and more attention and demand from operators, from companies and private buyers. Defense, we have the KC-390. The KC-390 is become the aircraft of choice of the NATO members and allies in Europe. It's a reliable, affordable, and really multi-mission aircraft.
This is the one that's used a lot for training as well, right?
No, for training is the Super Tucano.
The Super Tucano.
Super Tucano is the most popular light attack and training aircraft for military application. And finally, the Eve, eVTOL that you mentioned, is an Embraer subsidiary that is developing the vertical takeoff and landing full electric aircraft that combines the expertise of Embraer in certifying, developing, and manufacturing aircraft with a startup new technology approach. And this will transform how people travel in the big cities.
That sounds like something almost from the Jetsons.
Yes, almost.
But let's come back to that. I want to talk first about some of your more recent history. You became CEO in, I believe it was March of 2019. It was in 2019.
May 2019.
May 2019. Everyone in here immediately realizes what that implied. You took charge of an aviation company within a year of the beginning of the pandemic in a sector that was hit especially hard by everything that happened. And this is, this story is one that is pertinent to people outside of aviation as well. How did you get through that period?
Well, Brian, great crises bring great opportunities to do things differently and achieve different results. And when I arrived at Embraer, I found very talented people. By the way, some of them are here today. And very modern and competitive portfolio of products. So my focus was on unifying the company, starting with my team, and inspiring belief in a turnaround. So then we built, in a very collaborative way, 2020 strategy that was a 5-year plan with a focus on doing the basic things in an extraordinary way. Focus on doing what really matters with a strong discipline in execution. That time, we prioritized agility, simplicity, and trust among the leadership to adapt when needed. And of course, we celebrated the great achievements very often with our teams. In a short way, this is the way we did. It was much more than that, I tell you, but...
Well, we have dozens of CEOs in this room today, and I was wondering, if there was anything that you learned during that very difficult period that taught you something personally about leadership during a crisis like that?
No, absolutely. It was, we faced very, I'd say, turbulent times. But the beauty of a turbulent environment is that you have no time to philosophic discussions. You have to focus on what really matters the most. So, and then we knew when we were, back in 2020, when we were building that strategy, I mentioned in the question before, that we needed the right behaviors from our people to execute that strategy. So then, also, in a very collaborative way, we came to 5 behaviors that we call that time, still call, cultural behaviors. Number 1, one Embraer, one team, no silos anymore. Second, take responsibility for financial results. We offered advanced finance training to almost 100 executives that we call that time 100 CEOs. Number 3, be honest to listen and to talk. So we want to build a culture of giving feedback, a culture where, to talk about problem is not a problem. And at Embraer today, actually, worse than a bad news is a bad news that arrives late. Number 4, address complexity with simplicity. In our opinion, complexity is the enemy of execution. The companies are very complex. So we really fight against complexity. We try to make things simple that everyone can understand and help to make it happen. And finally, the number 5, passion to make a difference. We compete with companies multiple times bigger than us. We buy parts from companies multiple times bigger than us. So to attract their attention and support, we have to do differently. And if you get the chance, as you got, to visit one of our operations, you feel how proud,
Yeah, that's true.
how proud and passionate our people are about what they do. And the foundation of this culture is safety first and quality always in everything we do. So these behaviors have helped us a lot until today to drive our actions and execute our plan. And I tell you, Embraer now is running forward in a full speed.
Francisco, you got through this difficult period of 2020 and 2021 for the reasons that you mentioned. We're now in October 2025, and in some ways things are easier. But one constant theme that we've heard this morning is that the world is changing underneath our feet. Can you offer us some observations on how you see the world changing, what it means for your company, and any kind of insight on how companies can get through a period like this one?
Well, Brian, we have a clear strategy to support a sustainable growth, driven by efficiency and innovation. We have achieved remarkable results in terms of sales, revenues, and profitability, while we keep improving our operational efficiency. Looking forward, we expect a substantial midterm growth. We are targeting to be a 2-digit billion-dollar revenue company before 2030.
Where are you right now?
This year should be between 7 and 7.5.
That's a lot of growth.
It's a lot of growth. But in parallel, we are making strategic investments in new technologies to prepare the company for a more ambitious long-term growth based on a new generation of products. So this is the way we are doing right now, and we see the future for Embraer. Embraer is going to grow substantially in the medium term until 2030, and we are preparing the company, for a more ambitious expansion based on new products in the future.
Looking outside the company at the world, do you see us evolving toward a world where regions are more separate from each other than they are today? I mean, do you agree with some of what people have been saying about globalization not completely reversing? This is basically what Andres Velasco said earlier, not completely reversing, but yet evolving.
Well, aviation is already very global, very global. Our products are very global. Our company is very global. Yes, we are based in Brazil, but we have operations in many different countries. So our aircraft, we buy parts, a lot of parts in the US, we buy parts in Europe, we buy parts in Asia, and the other companies do the same. So, I mean, I don't believe the aviation, and we don't have so many companies building aircraft in the world, so I don't believe in our segment we will see a lot of regionalization and so on. I mean, yes.
We have just a few minutes left, and I was hoping, as much out of personal curiosity, that you could tell us a little bit more about the electric vehicle that would take off vertically, and anything else that you have in your development pipeline that could point to what the future of aviation will look like for all of us.
Yeah, of course. Well, we have a roadmap to support this decarbonization process. Starting today with our new family of commercial jets, the A2, that they are very efficient, 30% less fuel burn compared to the previous generation of commercial jets of Embraer. Then we are investing in this eVTOL, this electric vehicle that is an aircraft. I mean, with capacity for passengers plus one pilot, with vertical takeoff and landing. But it has wings. It's not like a helicopter. It has wings. So it is zero emission, and noise is 8% quieter than a normal helicopter. And we are working to make the cost of the seats more affordable than it is today, so we can bring more people to this transport and fly people in big cities. I mean, from one point to another in a few minutes, when by car they need hours. Like in São Paulo, if you fly from Buenos Aires to São Paulo, it's a 2.5 hours flight. And then if you go to Guarulhos, to Itaim, another 2.5 hours by car. So
I can personally testify that this is true.
It is crazy. With the eVTOL, you can do that in 50 minutes. So, and then on top, we are working to certify our aircraft to fly with SAF. Today, they can use a blend of SAF up to 50%, but we expect to certify the aircraft until 2028, 2030 to fly with 100% SAF. This will be very important to support the reduction of emissions as well.
So not only are you potentially solving the problem of airport capacity, but you're potentially solving the problem of the Marginal Tietê.
Absolutely.
Which is the highway that leads from Sao Paulo to the airport.
And from JFK to Manhattan as well.
That's a big one as well. Can you talk a little bit in the minute or so that we have left about what you're doing in the defense space as well?
Oh, we are super excited in defense, especially with this product, the KC-390. As I said, I mean, it's a product that is reliable, affordable. It's the best in class in that segment, up to 26 tons of capacity. It's a multi-mission aircraft. You can do missions like firefighting, air-to-air refueling, humanitarian aid. And the beauty is that you can change it from one mission to another in a matter of hours. And some of our competitors, they need different aircraft for different missions. So we have sold more than 50 aircraft, 11 different customers, 8 from Europe. So, and with a lot of new campaigns ongoing. So we are very happy, and we are working also very hard in the US to convince the US Air Force that this is a great product for the US Air Force, and this is a product that we expect to build here in the US in the future.
Francisco, I want to thank you not only for indulging those of us who are aviation enthusiasts today, but also telling us your story of how you, with your team, got the company through difficult times and positioned yourself for what sounds like some really exciting growth in years ahead. Congratulations again on your award as Transformational Leader of the Year for BRAVO, and we look forward to seeing you at another Council of the Americas event very soon.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you. Muito obrigado.
Obrigado.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now present the BRAVO Talk, Artificial Intelligence, a once in